I'm Sarah Bernard, and I'm glad that you're with us here on STL TV Live. It's almost time again to kick off Fair Housing Month, and Ed Wartts and April Griffin are here to tell us more about the significance of this annual event. And before we talk about Fair Housing Month, which is really important and so great that we're celebrating that here in St. Louis with the rest of the country, let's talk a little bit about what you all do to help our citizens with your respective agencies. April, why don't you kick that off?
Yes, at the St. Louis Civil Rights Enforcement Agency, we are in a contract and work agreement with HUD as well as EEOC. So we're charged with taking complaints of discrimination when it comes to housing, when it comes to employment, or public accommodations. And so we have investigators on staff. We also have attorneys on staff, and people can walk into our office or they can call. They can go online and file a complaint. They can also go through calling HUD or EEOC directly, and then they'll refer the complaints to our office. But if you feel like you've experienced discrimination, not just treated unfairly, but if you know that someone situated similarly to you when it comes to housing or employment, or in maybe even being an applicant for financing of some housing, is been treated differently than you, and then you can call us and certainly get advice, and we can get the information to try to determine if it warrants filing a complaint. And we also, in the process of doing investigations, which are settlements, and so we try to reach a settlement that will bring some resolution to the complainant, as well as remedy any discrimination that has occurred, try to stop it from occurring in the future, and getting something for public interest.
And Ed Wartts, you're with HUD.
Right.
So how do you all work together?
Well, basically, HUD is the federal agency that provides fundings for a number of agencies like April, which we call Fair Housing Assistance Programs. And basically what we do, we have a federal fair housing law which protects certain classes of people with regard to race, color, national origin, familial status, religion, sex, and disability. And anyone who is discriminated on one of those bases can file a complaint with HUD. And the process is essentially the same. The difference between April's agency, CREA, and HUD is that they have a local ordinance under which they investigate their complaints, and ours are investigated under the Fair Housing Act. But in addition to this whole issue of discriminatory investigation, HUD also provides fundings for public housing, Section 8 vouchers. We provide funding to our cities. We provide funding to a lot of different organizations in terms of infusing capitals into communities to try to build more sustainable communities. And fair housing is a portion of that. In fact, our regulations run through all HUD program regulations. And if you've ever heard the concept affirmatively further fair housing, anytime HUD funding is involved, any person or entity that we give money to is also required to take affirmative steps to promote the Fair Housing Act.
Okay, so how would a citizen know to contact your office versus April's office? Is there
Well, and I guess, from one standpoint, HUD being the national agency, so we're spread across the country. If there are any complaints that are for St. Louis City in particular, we are obligated to give it to CREA, because we have a work sharing agreement, but under that agreement, any complaint that occurs in their jurisdiction, we will give it to them. So for example, if a person calls us, we will still take the complaint, but we will refer it to April, and vice versa.
Okay, and you've been around the local organization office since 1950, is that right?
Yes.
Long time.
A long time.
And have you seen the complaints change over the years? Are they different now, or have they?
I think they have changed some, but our agency as a whole has changed. So initially it was more of an advocacy committee, and then over the years, as we've passed various laws and put more teeth into it, it has evolved into the agency it is today, that is certified with HUD and with federal government entities. And so through having a lot of training on being able to actually carry out investigations as well as lawsuits. And so there's a difference in the role today and back in the 1950s.
So you've grown and expanded over the years as the needs have changed.
As the needs have changed, and then a lot of times people will think right away discrimination. It's a lot of complaints about race, but we've seen in the more recent years our number one basis for a complaint is disability, and that falls true in housing as well well as employment.
Very interesting. So we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, I want to talk more about the process again of how people file complaints and what the process is and the amount of time that it takes. I think that's important. And of course, about your celebration coming up.
Okay.
So we'll be back to talk more with April and Ed after this break, so stay with us.